What's up, Met fans? Welcome back to Talking Mets with Rob. How is everybody doing on this Wednesday, the last week in August, on the 24th of August? Unfortunately, the Mets, probably, in my opinion, played one of the worst two games, offensively and defensively, of the year, or at least as far as back as I can remember. Even against the Braves, when they lost 3 or 4, they still found a way to battle in this ball game and still look like a good team. In the last 2 days, they just did. You know what? Honestly, they look tired. Having 26 games in 27 days, and out of those 26 games was two doubleheaders. They looked tired. Pete Alonso looked tired. They looked lethargic. They just did not look crisp. You know, defensive mishaps, can't catch in pop-ups. I mean, let's be honest. The Yankees weren't a team that was very crisp either. They were basically given both games to the Mets with the errors they made. So, and this year when it comes to the Mets, and when teams give them make mistakes, the Mets usually take advantage of it. Unfortunately, they didn't do that in either of the two games at Yankee Stadium. And with that said, with the win from the Atlanta Braves today, who destroyed the Pirates, they are a game and a half behind the Mets. And I know some people are panicking, some people are scared. You got to remember, in June, it was 3.5 games. It was 10 games, and then it went all the way down to 3 games. And then in July, it was a half a game. And then it was back to 3 games. And then it was 2 games. And then back to 5.5. And now sitting here today, a game and a half. Again, if the Mets take care of business against teams like a bad team in the Colorado Rockies, they are atrocious on the road in 2022. They're good at home. They're over 500 at home, but extremely bad on the road. And the Mets got to take full advantage of that. We're going to have Jacob deGrom pitch in one of these games. It might be tomorrow. It might be on Friday. I haven't seen anything updated on that yet, but we probably will know by, if not tonight, probably tomorrow morning. If you guys know anything, just say it in the chat. But at the moment, the Mets are kind of in this malaise with 37 games to go, where they got a game and a half lead. They have the easiest schedule in all of baseball. And I know I don't think Ken's in the stream right now, but Ken and me talked about it, that it made no sense not giving Pete Alonso off sometime, one of these actual, not an off day, 1 day off while the Mets are playing, just to give him a mental break, because you could see him struggling and seeing him press and putting pressure on himself. And the Alonso that we know this year has not done that, and he needed that rest. And I think the same thing goes for Francisco Lindor. I think you had games earlier this month where you could have sat him for one game. And I'm not just talking about, they were even playing double headers, Lindor and Alonso, and we go back to the fact that your backup first baseman is rough. And that's a problem because he's not a very good defensive first baseman. He doesn't play there enough. He's basically a glorified DH. And as much as we all couldn't wait to see Dominic Smith off this roster, late in yesterday's game, if the Mets would have put, say, Dominic Smith at first base late in the game, would Dominic Smith make that catch in the pop-up down the right field line? Possibly. Again, you can't – that's an if. We don't know what would have happened. Maybe Dominic Smith would have dropped that too. But I don't understand why they couldn't give them 1 day off over the last month. And these guys played every freaking game. Lindor missed 1 game this year because of the the finger issue. I think Alonso missed. I think he played every game so far this year, except for one or maybe two. You got, for all the things that we glorify and appreciate with Buck Showalter, I think he tends to let his stars play on a team as long as they're not injured. He gave everybody off this year. He gave Nimmo time off. He gave Escobar time off. He gave McNeil time off. Canna, Marte, even the catching situation more times than you would think for a starting catcher. It's it honestly doesn't make sense the reason why you can't give somebody a day off. You could have gave him a day off against the Phillies. We took 3 out of 4. It was a good series, but sometimes you just have to give a guy a mental break while you are playing the game. Let him sit back and watch, and if you need him to come up in a big spot to pinch hit, fine. But you could see, even in the Philadelphia series, and I'm going to go with Pete Alonso. They said it on Baseball Night in New York with Pete Alonso here. Pete Alonso in his last 10 games, so that goes back to the Braves series. The Braves series, the Philly series, the Yankee series. The 10-game road trip. He's batting 154, which is 6 for 39. 2 extra base hits, 5 RBIs with an OPS of 471. That is terrible. And that is a team that went 2 games under 500 in that 10-game road trip, 4-6. Throughout the month of August and throughout that 26 games and 27 days, the Mets were 18-9. So they were 9 games over 500, which is pretty damn good considering the fact that we had a little bit of an extended road trip, including a couple of doubleheaders. And I see people in the stream, last 20 games, 1 home run. Yeah, I agree. And he just needed a day out. I'm not talking about a scheduled off day for the team. I'm talking about if I'm Buck Showalter, I wouldn't play Pete Alonso tomorrow. Give him an extra day. Put Ruff in the lineup. The Mets should score runs without Pete Alonso in the lineup. Give him that day off. And give him that mental day off that he needs. This isn't having an off day scheduled for a team. It's going to help everybody. But for a guy like Pete Alonso, who you need in the middle of this lineup, you've seen with Lindor and Alonso struggling, and they were both pressing yesterday and in this series against the Yankees. You have to give these guys a day off. I know they're your stars in your team, and I know Lindor and Alonso are not going to say, hey, Skip, give me a break. But sometimes you have to take that you have to take that from a player and say, no, you're sitting today, and you know what? Do what you have to do. Tell Pete, listen, you're sitting in this game. There should be no reason why the Mets can't score runs against the Colorado Rockies. And if there is a big spot in the game where you need to run, the go-ahead run to tie the game or whatever it might be, Pete Alonso, you put him up in a big spot. And the same thing goes for Lindor. You want to sit Pete Alonso tomorrow? Fine. You want to sit Lindor on Friday? Fine. Do it. What's the point of having bench players if you're just not going to use them? And this is the problem that we talked about when it came to people really never talked about Dominic Smith, how good he can be defensively late in games. Now, again, it really does not matter what happened. Now, would it have made a difference if Dominic Smith was playing first base in that moment when the pop-up happened in the short right field by the foul line? For all we know, the ball would have dropped in anyway. But you could clearly see that Alonso yesterday was tired, was putting too much pressure on himself, was lethargic. He just seemed out of it, running the bases. I mean, if Gleyber Torres actually had a brain cell, Pete Alonso would have never scored, and the Mets would have probably never scored in that game to tie it. And it's just the fact that you see those mental miscues And Pete Alonso is a poor base runner as it is, and then having him mentally drained on top of that just showed on the base pitch, showed on the field, and showed at the plate. And let's be honest, as I said earlier, the Yankees were giving us these two games with the errors they made, with the mental blocks they made. They pitched better than us, no doubt. But there was moments in the game when the error in right field in game one, right? When Pete Alonso hit that pop-up and Vogelback hit the 2-run homer. The Yankees gave the Mets opportunity to come back in this game. And in the 2022 season, when you make mistakes against the Mets, you usually pay for it. In those two games, they did not make them pay for it. And they should have. The Yankees did not play a good game at all. Besides Herman, who pitched really well. If you look at Frankie Montas's stats and box score or his stats for the game, his line, it was 5 2/3 for 2 runs. You know what Taijuan Walker did? 5 innings, 2 runs. It's very similar, but everybody's praising Frankie Montas like he pitched 7 innings and shut out ball. So I'm not concerned about this team because I think they're good enough. And when Buck here, and Buck's not going to let this team spiral out of control. Again, we haven't had an extended long losing streak all year, and I don't expect that to happen now. You know, this off day came at a perfect time, and it is a good time. Like I said, you're playing the Rockies. I understand you're a game and a half up on the Braves, but you also have 37 games to go. You know, losing a couple of games over the next 10 days is not going to determine if the Braves are going to be in the division lead by a game or the Mets going to be up by a game. You still got games to go. And I'm looking at give me a second. I wrote it down. Okay. So the winning percentage for the Mets, the teams they face over the next 37 games is 446 win percentage. The Braves face teams that have a 477 win percentage, which ranks 23rd overall, and the Mets are in the top 5 of the easiest schedules in September. So again, we play the Dodgers still, and we still play the Brewers. Other than that, it's a lot of Pittsburgh, it's Oakland, a lot more Washington. We don't see Philly anymore, so we don't have to worry about those type of big games. We played the Marlins a couple of more times. We got Oakland. I mean, we have a very easy schedule, and they got to take advantage of this. You know what? At the very least, and this is pushing it, the Mets need to win 3 out of 4 against the Rockies, and they should sweep them. Like, there should be no game where you have to worry and sweat that the Mets are going to lose that game against the Rockies. It shouldn't happen. No, Jesse, 477 isn't very good, but if you look at the teams they face, now, they still face the Phillies a ton of times, and the Phillies are not that far from the Braves. And as you see, the Phillies are always a tough team, and they played the Braves tough this year. The Braves are 500 against the Phillies this year, so the Braves haven't looked good against the Phillies. You know, they still got they got to go on that West Coast trip with Seattle and San Francisco. Seattle's a really good team. San Francisco is not that great, not that good, but you still got to go on the West Coast, and West Coast trips are always bad, especially at the end of the year. You know, we saw that with the Mets last year between August and September when we were in that West Coast trip. I know because I was in LA at the time. That West Coast trip in the dog days of summer into September are very rough, and that's not an easy schedule for them either. And you know, I'll go to the Braves schedule right now so we can look at it, and then I'll get to everybody and say what's up. So once again, guys, don't forget to please hit on that like button. Welcome to Mets Talk Live on this Mets off day. Mets 79-46, a game and a half up on the Atlanta Braves. Let me just check the Braves schedule. So even now, this is why this Rocky series is so important, because the Braves, I know they don't lose. It seems like they never lose. They are playing the Cardinals, who are one of the hotter teams in baseball over the last month in the Cardinals. Hopefully Pujols could still continue to act like he's 25 years old and hitting bombs all over the yard. But it is in St. Louis. That's not an easy ballpark to play in. They got a really good team. And let's hope the Cardinals can take 2 out of 3 against the Braves, and the Mets can take care of business against the Rockies. If you look at it here with the Braves schedule, they got 3 against the Cardinals. They got three against the Cardinals away, 3 against the Rockies at home, 3 against Miami at home. Then they go to Oakland, Seattle, and San Francisco. So it's a 3, 6, 8-game road trip in the beginning part of September. And, Oakland's terrible. But again, it's a West Coast trip. You just never know. Seattle is a tough series. San Francisco is not great, but they still are okay. They still got good pitching. And then they come back home to face the Phillies for 3, Nationals for 3, and then go into Philly for 4, then Washington for 3, and then they face the Mets, the second to last series of the year at Citi Field. So, and then after the Mets, they have Miami for 3 more games for the rescheduled games at Miami. So, again, it's not the easiest schedule in the world. They got a lot of games against Philly. They still got that. The Braves have the West Coast trip like the Mets had last year when the Braves overtook the Mets last year. So, and I do know that, again, I do know Soroka is coming back for the Braves. But again, until that kid can actually pitch in a few games and look good and not, God forbid, tear his Achilles again, because the guy was walking in the clubhouse and he tore his Achilles. What happens that one step off the mound and then pop, it happens again. So I know Brave fans are talking about, Soroka is a really good pitcher. The kid hasn't pitched in 2 years. Relax about that. Be careful with that. Met fans know that very, very well when it comes to somebody who they're expecting back and either is not the same pitcher or is not going to be. I mean, the guy hasn't pitched in 2 years. There's no guarantee he's going to be a good pitcher at least this year. Next year, different story. Got spring training under his belt. Got a whole full spring training that he can deal with. That's fine. But we do know Soroka is a good pitcher when healthy. All right, so we're going to talk about a little bit more about that. We talked about the win percentage that the Mets are facing with the team. The 2023 schedule has come out. We'll talk about that a little bit and how it represents the new balanced schedule in Major League Baseball. I got the breakdown of all 30 clubs, the games that every team will be playing on that day, how many total division games, how many intra-league games, and how many inter-league games. So intra-league and inter-league. Intra-league is obviously playing teams a little bit more around the National League, and inter-league is obviously the American League for the Mets. Oh, yes, exactly, Jess. Excuse me. I was looking at the Braves schedule and I saw the home, so I thought it was the Mets. But yeah, we play in Atlanta. Again, let's hope for the Mets' sake, they're at least 4 games up by the time that series happens. So we can kind of just, you take 1 or 2 games there. It's kind of, even 1 game, they don't really gain enough ground. You got 3 games with 3 games to go, 3-game lead with 3 games to go, and the Mets are facing Washington. All you got to do is win 1 game, and basically it's over, especially if the Braves – because I think the Mets have 1 game advantage or 2 games on the Braves in overall series victories. So I think they only need to win 1 more game against the Braves to have the season series, and that basically helps the tiebreaker. So Todd, yeah, I understand that the Mets – kind of get screwed. The fact that the Mets play the Yankees a lot of times, and then the Braves play Boston. I get it. But you know what? It's been like that for 20 years. Like, I mean, we have to get over the fact that the Yankees are usually always a good team when the Mets face them. It just happens to be that way. There's nothing you can do about that. You just have to deal with it. You know what I'm saying? You just can't do nothing about it, Unfortunately, the Braves don't have a crosstown rival they have to face every year. The Cubs got to deal with that. The White Sox got to deal with that. I mean, I don't know. California teams got to do that all the time, even though they're in the same division. It's, what are you going to do? But you know what? You could talk about games with the Mets where the Mets just traded the Nationals just traded Juan Soto, and the Nationals beat the Mets on that same day. The Mets should have easily won that game with Juan Soto not in the lineup. So I by the way, guys, I did get my Mets mug, the home run Apple Mets mug, and don't worry, I actually got another one to give away for members. So that's gonna be fun. What we're gonna do now, guys, I'm gonna say what up to everybody in the chat. We're gonna go over the 2023 schedule, and we're also gonna go over the Mets schedule for the rest of the year. And you can't, I don't want to do the win-loss thing because that's stupid. Because it is baseball. It's every game is a crapshoot. You just never know. All you need is one pitcher who don't have it that day, and then, well, guess what? You're losing that ball game. And I know some people were very upset that Jacob deGrom didn't pitch against the Yankees. I get that. And, there's opportunities to give Jacob deGrom a breather or an extra day, in the Rocky series. He could have pitched yesterday, and you could have not pitched him against the Rockies and then pitch him against the Dodgers. Because if I'm not mistaken, I believe I'm correct, but I could be wrong. Let me see. According to MLB with MLB site, Jacob deGrom should be pitching tomorrow. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So he'll be pitching on Wednesday against the Dodgers. So he is going to be in the Dodgers series along with Scherzer. So it'll be Scherzer and deGrom in that series as well, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4. And Scherzer's pitching the last game on Sunday against the Rockies at home. So we're going to have Jacob deGrom and Scherzer pitching this series against the Rockies as well as the Dodgers series. Jacob deGrom is going to pitch in the Dodgers series, not Max Scherzer. So you're going to get Scherzer and deGrom for the Colorado series, deGrom for the Dodgers series, and then we have an easier schedule going forward for mostly the rest of the season until we go to Milwaukee, till we face Milwaukee. Excuse me. Well, Ryan, it's not going to happen. Bassett, I think it's going to be deGrom, Bassett, and Walker in the Dodgers series, if I'm not mistaken. Because Walker pitched on Monday, so he's 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, hold on. Let me just try to do this right now. So Walker pitched on the 22nd, so 23rd, 24th, 25th, 26th, 27th. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, Walker's not pitching in that series, so it's going to be deGrom, Bassett, and probably Peterson, maybe, possibly Williams, maybe even. I don't think Walker's going to pitch in that series either. Yeah, so it's going to be Chris Bassett and Jacob deGrom for sure, but probably not Scherzer in Dodger game because he's going to be pitching on Sunday. So again, go beat the Dodgers. Like let's go. Like, you're home, get it done. You're a really good team. You're one of the best teams in baseball. Beat the team. You got the home field advantage. Let's go. No more excuses anymore. Like I said, over the next 7 games, 4 against the Rockies, 3 against the Dodgers. Can you go 5-2? Now, that doesn't necessarily mean you have to sweep the Rockies. And and take 1 game from the Dodgers, but can you take 3 from the Rockies and 2 from the Dodgers? Yeah, of course you can. But again, it's a crapshoot. I honestly think if you come tomorrow against the Rockies and you beat the hell out of them, they probably can't get out of town quick enough. Like, that's the way these teams think at the end of the year when they really have no hope of anything, any type of postseason hope or anything like that, unless guys are playing for contracts. Some of these guys are ready to, pack it up and just let's get back on the plane and get the hell out of here. So that's what you have to do with this team like the Rockies. Beat them up, make sure they don't want to be here, embarrass them, and take advantage of the situation. Again, the Braves have been good, but the Cardinals have been better, just as good as the Braves. And the Cardinals are playing at home. They're very good at home. And they've been pitching better. All of a sudden, the Cardinals lineup has been even more extended and better with Albert Pujols acting like he's 25 years old again. I mean, there's no reason why. I don't know the pitching matchup for the Braves series. Let's check that out since that's important. So tomorrow, it's Spencer Strider against Jose Quintana. Saturday, it's Jordan Montgomery against Charlie Morton. And the last game is, let's see. All right, so they won't show me that one, but all right, that's fine. So it's Strider and Morton and Quintana and Montgomery. And Montgomery has been excellent for the Cardinals since he was traded from the Yankees. So Roberto, I don't think that's necessarily true. Why do you have to in 7 games against one of the best teams in baseball, 3 games set against the Dodgers? You know, if you sweep the Rockies, I mean, there's a pretty good chance you can probably lose a series against the Dodgers and still go 5-2 on the homestand. Like that's not bad. You know, you just hope in that stretch the Braves lose a couple of games. You know, the Braves lose 2 out of the next 6 games or 7 games. You know, even if they go 5-2, well, guess what? You take 7 games off the schedule, and you still remain a game and a half lead. So, and I think the Braves are off tomorrow, so the Mets can gain half a game tomorrow on them. So, and it'll go back to 2 if you win tomorrow. So, I'm not too worried of the fact that, you know, I don't like to just say, oh, the Mets got to win 6 out of 7. Like, obviously that's nice, but we have to be realistic in the fact that it's still baseball. Anything can happen. The ball can drop a certain way. The ball can find certain holes when it needs to. You know, sometimes they hit them where you ain't, and you can lose a ball game against the Rockies. It's not the end of the world. The Dodgers can't beat the Pirates. The Braves have lost in the Nationals before. You know, the Marlins beat the Braves. It happens. You're not going to win every game. If the Mets go 5-2 on the next 7 games, you have to take that considering the fact that the Mets just came off a 26 games out of 27 days with 2 doubleheaders in that stretch. They got the off day. They should come out blazing. And again, best case scenario, the Mets sweep the Rockies, and at the very least, in that 4-game stretch, automatically, if the Mets win tomorrow, the Braves are off. You automatically gain a half a game. So when they go into the 3 games against against St. Louis. Oops. When the Braves go into that 3-game set against St. Louis, the Mets can be 2 games up by the time we got 3 games left with the Rockies, and they got 3 games against the Cardinals. The Mets take 2 more games in that series against the Rockies, or even sweep the Rockies. And even if the Braves do well and take 2 out of 3, the Mets still gain a game. So you have to look at it that way as well. So again, the Dodgers series is not going to be easy. Yeah, you got the Rom going, you got Bassett going, and we know how good the Dodgers are. But you're in our ballpark, get it done. Win 2 out of 3. We'll see. All right, guys. So with that said, make sure you hit on that like button. We got 47 in the stream right now. I do appreciate you guys hanging out with us on this off day, much needed off day for the New York Mets. So I'm going to start at the very, 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 very top. I'm not sure if James is in the chat anymore. So James, we got Gary, Lane, Frank, Christian, a member of Talking Mets at Rob, Roberto, a member of Talking Mets at Rob, Rocky, Sean, a member of Talking Mets at Rob, Anthony. We got Grant, a member of Talking Mets at Rob. We got YT Scully. We got, I think I said Anthony already. Who else is here? Yoelfies, how you doing? Ken, what's up? Jesse, how you doing? Steve, how you doing? Ryan, how you doing? Timothy, how you doing? Breaker, how you doing? Who else is in here? Todd, how you doing? I know I saw Todd in here. Kendrick, how you doing? Yeah, Kendrick, I understand the ground pitch at Citi Field is good for business, but we're trying to win ball games. I can care less if there's 10 fans in Citi Field. Win ball games. That's all I care about at this point. Who else is here? Inebriated, how you doing? Robert, how you doing? And Teddy, how you doing? Oh yeah, Grant. I seen that. And that was the first thing I noticed. I see the Mets are playing Houston Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I'm not sure if Darren's gonna go put that as a 7-line outing, considering the fact that it's a weekday. But he did miss out the last time because of the hurricane when the 7-line was supposed to go. What was it, 2019? I think it was, or 2018. So he might just do that outing just because they missed out on it, and technically they haven't been there yet. So that would be pretty cool to get out there. I was looking at the schedule. We'll look at that in a second, but it's a pretty cool schedule. So we're gonna talk more Mets, and just give me 1 second because I am hot as hell. All right, sorry about that. I shut off the AC, thinking that I was nice and cool, and now I'm hot. All right, so we're gonna talk about the schedule in a second. We're going to talk more about the series coming up against the Rockies and the pitching matchups. We're going to look at we're going to talk a little bit more about the Yankee series and why I don't think Met fans should be too concerned, considering the fact that they just had a 7-game stretch against the 2 NL East rivals in the Braves and the Phillies that took a ton of energy before the Yankee series. Now, I think if the Yankee series happened before the Braves and the Phillies series, I think it would have been a whole different outcome, considering that the Yankees were playing terrible and the Mets were still fresh at that moment and looking decent. But you can't help the schedule. It just happened to fall in a terrible place. The Yankees were bound to start getting better again. And you know what? They needed this type of series with this type of atmosphere more than the Mets. The Mets were done. You noticed it. I noticed it when I was at the game on Monday. They looked out of it. They really did. Bryce, how you doing? 2018, Grant. Exactly. So that's why I think, because the 7-line hasn't been there yet, so I'm assuming they're going to go, even though it's a weekday series. So I think, I was looking at Minnesota is there as well. The 7-line hasn't been in Minnesota yet. That's a weekend series. Boston is a weekend series, so I know Darren's going to be going there, probably with 2,000 strong. So we'll look at that schedule in a second. So once again, guys, thank you guys for tuning in to Mets Talk live right here on the channel. Hopefully everybody is enjoying the Mets off day. You don't have to stress. I mean, it's been a long month for Mets fans as well. I mean, 26 games in 27 days is not just for the players either. No, it's constant with Mets fans as well. Constantly looking at the schedule, constantly looking at the standings, constantly looking at the Braves games and scoreboard watching, and going tooth and nail on every pitch. I mean, it's crazy. But we can relax today. You can have your coffee. You can have whatever you have in the cup. And again, guys, this is the Home Run Apple Cup from the 7-Line Army right there. I do have it. I did buy 2. I got the other one in a box right now. I will be giving that away probably soon, but I still got to do that mystery box. I finally got the video, the editing software. Everything's fixed. I did the video for the giveaway. I know who won already. I just have to finish up the editing and put it on the community page for the members, so you could see who won. And Grant, what I'm going to do, the reason why I haven't sent the package out yet is because I want to send the giveaway, whoever wins, and your box that I'm giving to you for your bar at the same time. So it's just one flat rate instead of paying like an arm and a leg because of the weight. Because your box is not that heavy, but there is stuff in there that makes it a little heavier. As I told you, I emailed you what I'm giving you. And I threw in a couple other stuff in there too. Whiskey? We'll keep it PG. So, with that said, guys, let's go look at the the 2023 schedule really quickly. I'll try to pick out what I think the 7-line outings are going to be, the road outings. Because the constant ones are Philadelphia and Washington because it's close proximity to New York, obviously, and that's usually a big draw. So that's going to be there whenever you see a weekend series in Washington or Philly. That's probably going to happen. So I'm going to share my screen right now. So just give me 1 second. There we go. So that is, let me just zoom in a little. All right, there we go. Sorry about that. Actually, I can zoom in a little bit more and just move it over. We'll look at May and April, March and April. There we go. So looking at the schedule, the Mets face. Wow, that's actually a little crazy. All right, so March baseball for opening day on the road, no less. The Mets start their 2023 season on a 6-game road trip in Miami and Milwaukee, and then come home to face Miami and San Diego. So a tough little stretch there. You're gonna have Milwaukee, San Diego, LA in the first month of the season. So that's not gonna be fun. But we might get a little bit of a break in May, if you can see that. So we got opening day on the road in Miami, which is not bad at all. And maybe I'll show up to there. Which March is not a bad time to go to Florida. So on the 30th of March, Miami for the Mets on opening day. Play 4 in Miami and then travel to Milwaukee for 3 until they get home to play Miami in opening day at Citi Field on April 6th. So that's looking pretty good at the moment. And if you look at the schedule, the Mets go on a West Coast trip very early in the season. And I'm telling you right now, I love the early West Coast trip. Get that crap out of the way. Oakland, LA, San Diego, and San Francisco. Get it out of the way now, and I'll take it. Then we come back home for Washington and Atlanta. Going to May, we got Detroit on the road, which is another outing for the 7-line that might happen, but it's in the middle of the week, so that's tough. Colorado at home. Then we go to Cincinnati and Washington. Tampa Bay and Cleveland at home. Chicago and Colorado on the road. And then we go to June. Playing Philly and Toronto at home. Then Atlanta and Pittsburgh on the road. Then we have the first 2 Subway Series games of the year on Tuesday and Wednesday at Citi Field. And then we get an off day, and then we play the Cardinals at home. And then we go to Houston that me and Grant were just talking about. It's a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I think Darren's going to try to do this outing for Houston because they haven't done it before. And he did say he wants to finish the rest of the ballparks by next year, so that the 7-line hasn't been to. So I think Houston is a very good option. And then we go back to Philadelphia on another off day. If you notice, there's a lot of off days. If you notice that. Look at these off days. Just when it comes to the balanced schedule. And we'll go into the balanced schedule, everything we have to look at. And then we come back home, we play Milwaukee and San Francisco for 3. And then we go back to the California, the West Coast and Arizona and San Diego before the All-Star break. And then we come back. At least we have a couple of days off, and we come back home to play the Dodgers and the White Sox. And then right after that, we go to look at it. Look how crazy the schedule is in July. The weekend series at Boston for 3 games. And then we get an off day and we go to Yankee Stadium. So we're playing 2 AL East teams back-to-back on the road, Boston and the Yankees. And then we come back home, 4 games against Washington, then go right back on the road to Kansas City and Baltimore on the road. Baltimore is going to be another interesting thing where they might do a 7-line out in there. Then we can stay home for 9 games. Cubs, Braves, Pirates. Then go to the Midwest in St. Louis for 4. And then to Atlanta. And then we come back home for the Angels and Rangers. And also the Mariners. So September is not an easy schedule. The late August into early September is a little bit of West Coast cooking at home. And then we come back in September with Washington for 2, Minnesota for 3 on the road. Minnesota is definitely going to be an outing for sure, guaranteed. That Saturday the 5th, 7, 8, the 9th, right there is going to be a 7-line outing right there. Then we got Arizona and the Reds at home, Miami and Philadelphia on the road, and then ending the season with Miami and Philadelphia at home. So that is your 2023 schedule, guys, for the New York Mets. So it's a very interesting schedule this year with the new balanced schedule. And I want to make everybody aware of this because a lot of people don't know. The balanced schedule, you have to look at each division. So balanced schedule does just not mean the Mets are going to be playing a balanced schedule just like the Yankees. No. The balanced schedule means the Mets, the Braves, the Phillies, the Marlins, and Nationals are all playing the same teams throughout the season. They ain't going to be, the Braves are going to face this team more times than this team. No. It's all going to be even. The Mets play Oakland 5 times or 6 times. The Braves are going to be playing them 6 times. Again, the Yankee schedule kind of doesn't really matter anymore because everybody's going to be playing everybody. So I believe the Braves are going to be playing the Yankees as well. The Nationals are going to play the Yankees as well. The Phillies and everybody else is going to play the Yankees as well. So everybody's going to get this. So whoever the Mets play, the NL East teams are going to play. So it the same amount of games. So again, if the Mets play the White Sox 3 times or 6 times, the Braves are going to be playing them 6 times. That's how they're going to do it with the balanced schedule. So that's why it's balanced. And then when it comes down to it, I want to break it down for you guys as I was looking at it. So for the balanced schedule, this is how it's going to be in total for all 30 clubs. 52 total. Oh, hold on, excuse me. Give me a second. Sorry. All right. 52 games in division. That is down from 76 games in the division. Intra-league games, which is playing National League teams. 64 games, which is decreased from 66 games. The interleague, which is when you play the American League, interleague games, 46 games, which is increased from 20. So you're playing 26 more games against the American League teams, which, let's be honest, if the Mets and the Braves and the Phillies were playing more American League teams like the Royals, the White Sox, the Royals, the Indians, well, the Indians are good. Really bad teams in the American League, the Mets and the Braves and the Phillies might have a couple more wins on their belt instead of them facing more Dodgers and more Giants and more Padres and, more Milwaukee and more St. Louis. So it is pretty cool. It gives everybody opportunity around the country to see their favorite team. Like Grant said, Grant, the Mets are going to in his area 3 times in that Texas area. So it makes a ton of sense to get. This is how you get more fans involved. You get a Mets team that never goes to Chicago or to play the White Sox. Now you're going to get them going to Chicago twice this year, playing the Cubs and the White Sox. And the same thing for California teams in the American League. The Mets are going to California a little bit more in the American League. So, James, you better beat the Pirates. James, you can always talk your crap, but again, the Mets are still in first place and they didn't play today. So, it's all right. You're not going to burst my bubble today. I promise you that. It's all right. Beat the Cardinals. That's all I got to say. Beat the Cardinals. One of the hottest teams in baseball. So, with that said, guys, the balanced schedule is pretty cool considering the fact that you have everybody that the Mets face, the Braves face. Everybody that the Mets face, the Phillies face. That's nice, especially for, because we talk about it like, look, the Mets play 4 or 6 games against the Yankees every year, no matter what. Every year you play. One year you play Central. One year you'll play the West. One year you play the East in the American League. Well, that's done. Now you play who your East and your NL East teams play, and that's important because if when the Mets and the Yankees have to play 6 games against each other, well, that's hard 4 games for both teams. But then you might have the Toronto Blue Jays and the Braves playing, I don't know, pick a bad team in the East, or pick a bad team in the American League that they're facing. What happened if the Braves get 6 games against the Royals? Well, it's unbalanced, and considering it's not fair because the Braves don't need to face a cross-time rival because there is none. The same thing with the White Sox and the Cubs, same thing. So, and the same thing with California teams as well that are not in the same division. So, it's I'm for division games. I like that, and I understand why they're doing a balanced schedule because let's be honest, there's a lot of teams that, considering the fact that there should be no team like the Mets and the Braves are in a pennant race, right? In a division race, right? You want to see, you don't want to see the Mets have an easier schedule than the Braves. Again, it's benefiting the Mets, sure, but I know the win percentage is only like 0.10% difference, but that could be the difference between one game and winning the division and losing the division. And I'd rather have a season where everybody in your division has equal amount of games against the same amount of teams. I think that's more fair. No, but again, it's hard to, you can look at it and say, well, the Mets September is so much more easy than the Braves September next year. Well, you can't deal. What can you do with the schedule? Because you don't know what team is going to be good, what team's going to be great, what team's going to be a surprise. You just don't know. That schedule in September, Miami might not be that, might not look good this year. But what happens if they turn it around and be a playoff contender? Well, now those 3 games in Miami are very important at the end of the year. So it's hard to judge now because you don't know what the teams are going to look like next year. But it is a lot of fun. And yeah, the Mets have been better in the NL East than the Braves, and that basically I think to look at it even more, Christian, the Mets are 14-5 against the Phillies. The Braves are 500 against the Phillies. That's the difference right there between the Mets in first place and the Braves not in first place. And when the Braves had opportunities to beat the Mets, they couldn't until the last series in Atlanta. James, 100%. I think Miami's going to be better. I think they're going to spend a little bit of money. They got a pitching rotation. Look, when you got an ace of a staff in Alcantara, and their pitching staff is already pretty damn good, if they get 1 or 2 pieces there, man, they're a scary team. I don't know what happened to Miami this year, but for some reason, Miami always caused problems to the Braves, the Phillies, the Mets. They seem like they can never beat the Marlins. The Marlins always were a pain in the ass for every NL East team. This year, everybody's beaten the Marlins this year, which is insane because they look like a team that always found a way to beat teams in the East. KTU, never say that. All it takes look, put it this way. The Marlins won 2 championships, and it was both wild card teams. So, all they need is to have one really good, if they get a couple of prospects that come up and perform like their prospects did in 97 and in 2003, like, you just don't know who can come up and be amazing. Yeah, James, exactly. 100%, I agree with you. They're not going to be better than the Mets or the Braves. They're probably not even going to be better than the Phillies. But you know what they could be? They could be better than this year. And they could be a pain in the ass, considering the fact that the Mets, Braves, and Phillies in September all face the Marlins. So, again, they can, you expect Philly to be good. You expect the Braves to be really good. You expect the Mets to be really good. So, those games matter. Really do matter. KTU, I understand, but the schedule came out, and I thought it was important to just bring it up and just talk about it a little bit. Yeah, exactly, KTU. When people are like, oh, the Mets are going to choke, Again, the Mets haven't choked all year. If the Braves find a way to win the division this year, it's not because the Mets choked. It's just that the Braves have been playing 700 baseball since June, and that's almost impossible. And if they do that, they're probably going to win the division, unless the Mets play 700 ball the rest of the way. It's possible the Mets have an easy schedule. So, again, like if the Braves win the division by one game, it's not a choke job by the Mets because nobody could have predicted the Braves to go on a crazy winning streak. What was it in June to get back into the race when the Mets had a 10.5 game lead? The Mets didn't play bad in that stretch. They were 3 or 4. I think it was 5 games over 500, 6 games over 500 in that stretch when the Braves went on a 16-game winning streak, 15-game winning streak. That's how they got back in the division. It wasn't because the Mets played bad. It's not like the Mets went, 2-14 in that stretch. They didn't. They were a few games over 500 in that stretch. When you lose one game, win 3, and the Braves keep on winning, well, they're going to creep up. Because it wasn't like the Braves in 1 week got back into the race right away. It took a full month because the Mets weren't losing 2, 3, 4 in a row. They were losing 1 game here, winning 3 games. Losing 1, winning 2. So that's the reason. So, again, the Mets have 37 games left. I believe they have 31 of those games are against teams under 500. The 6 games that teams are over 500, is the Brewers and the Braves. So, again, the Mets, if they take care of business, they should be fine. And I talked about that, KTU, with the Braves playing the Phillies 7 more times. I think I said 8, so that's my apology. 7 more times. That's a big deal because the Phillies aren't the easiest team. Again, I think the Phillies defense always comes up in the worst spots, but the Phillies are probably going to win some games against the Braves. It's just simple mathematics. It's probably going to happen. The Phillies might, in that 7 win 2 or 3. That could be the difference between the Mets winning the division or not. And yes, James, the Phillies are getting Harper back. And you know what? The Mets don't have to face the Phillies anymore with Harper. So, as good as the Braves are, and they're a damn good team, and I'll never deny that. Never deny that at all. And again, everybody who tries to kill me or troll me thinking that I don't give the Braves credit, go back to March 31st and look at my division winners that I predicted for the 2022 season. The Mets weren't in first place. I picked the Braves to be in first place. I expected the Mets to be a wild card team. And not saying that the Mets were going to lose the division by 5 or 6 games. I had them 2 games less than the Braves. And that can still come to fruition at the end of the year. So, and I've always said this, even when the Mets, you guys can go back to all the videos that I've done, all the streams I've done. I said this when the Mets were 10.5 games up. I said this. Don't count out the Braves. The Mets can play 600 baseball the rest of the way when the Mets are 10.5 games up. The Braves played over 700 baseball. No matter how good the Mets are, if the Braves play 700 baseball when the Mets play 600 baseball, the Braves are going to be back in this race. And they basically did that. And again, that winning streak that they had wasn't because the Mets went 2-12. It was because, again, when you got a 15, 16-game winning streak and the Mets win 3 here, lose 1 here, win 2 here, lose 1 there, it took a month and a half for the Braves to get back within 5 games. So, Christian, I don't think so. I honestly think it's going to come down to – I don't think it's going to come down to the final 6 games, put it that way. I think the Mets are going to go on – after this Dodgers series, I think they're going to roll off about 4 or 5 in a row, and I think that's going to make the difference in the division, to be honest with you. I don't think the Mets are going to lose the division. Again, do I think the Braves might pass the Mets over this stretch? I think so. But that doesn't mean that the Mets can't take it back. Just because the Braves might go up in front in the end of August doesn't mean the Mets might not jump over them again in September. So I think the Mets are going to win the division. I think it's going to come down to the last week of the season. Oh, okay, Christian. Okay. Yeah. Well, exactly. You had three. I had two. And listen, if anybody picked the Mets to win the division in the beginning of the year, you're just trying to be a Mets bias. You just got your rose-colored glasses on and just looking Mets. And I don't like to do that. I think it's stupid. And I do think the Mets will win the division. Again, is it going to be easy? Of course not. Again, if you thought that this division was going to be easy, give me what you're drinking because I like some. So, but I'm not going to be here long, guys. I'm just going to cut it off at 8 o'clock only because I do got work and I'd like a couple hours of sleep. Unfortunately, yesterday was just last night was just overnight day was just tough. I didn't get no sleep considering the fact that the Mets. I was live during the Mets Yankee game and it ended kind of late, and I had to go basically straight to work. That kind of sucked. But once again, guys, it's when the Mets have 31 out of the next 37 games against teams under 500. Again, they will lose games against bad teams in this next 37 games. They will. It's inevitable. Unless the Mets go on a 30-7 run, which, who knows? I mean, if the Mets win 30 more games, they're going to win 109 games. I mean, is that possible? Of course. Mathematically, yes. Do I predict that? No. But I'm going to be realistic. 37 games left, right? If the Mets go 20-17, that's 99 wins, right? Only 3 games over 500. You would think with an easy schedule, they should be at least 7 to 10 games over 500 in that stretch, right? So say the Mets go 20-17, that's 99 wins. If the Braves go 20-17 in the next 37 games, the Mets win the division, right? So any game, if the Mets go 4, 5, 6 games over 500, you got to remember, guys, the Braves have to go 8 games, 9 games over 500 in that stretch, in the last remaining games, because they got a lead. Again, the Mets win tomorrow, it goes back to 2 games because the Braves are off. So every time the Mets win or the Braves lose, I consider it 2 games off the schedule because that's 1 game. It's usually a 2-swing game, the way I look at it. And I think it's a full game when a team is off and the other team plays and wins. So I do think the fact that the Mets haven't gone on a prolonged losing streak, and they could have easily done this during this stretch that they just had in that 10-game road trip. They could easily fell apart in the June West Coast trip. Every time they faced the Braves, except for the last series, everybody thought they were done after that, and they proved otherwise. I think it comes to the point, it's already the last week in August, that you have to give the Mets a little bit of credit. They played extremely well all year. They haven't had a 5, 6, 7-game losing streak, which they had 3 of those last year. Benka, yeah, but I hate when people do that. 2008 was 12 years ago, right? Sure, 12 years ago. What does that have to do with this year? Absolutely nothing. And at that moment, the Phillies were a lot better. And there was teams in the division that were pretty damn good. That was 2007. 2007, it doesn't matter. That has nothing to do with now. That's when people bring that up. Can I talk about the fact that the Braves won 14 divisions in a row and only got 1 championship out of that? How many times did they choke in the playoffs? You want to talk about that? No, you don't want to talk about that, right? 2022 has nothing to do with 2007 or 2008. Nothing at all. It has nothing to do with that. Number one, in 2007, the pitching staff was basically destroyed in 2007. Our pitching staff was bad. That 2017 is not even close to what this team is in 2022. The pitching staff is 20 times better than it was in 2007. And the Mets 17 games in that stretch wasn't against, and that was when the Marlins were a pesky team. That was still a very good team. And they were a 500 team, the Marlins. Right now, the Marlins aren't that good, and the Mets played them a couple more times. It's okay to not bring up history because it doesn't make sense. It's a new owner, new manager, a completely new team. And considering the fact that the Mets haven't had this type of record at this point in the season since 86, why does more people bring up 2007 but don't bring up 1986 when this team is more relatable to this 1986 team based on where they were in the standings around this time in 86 and this year? But people don't want to bring that up, especially non-Met fans. And that's what I heard at Yankee Stadium. Oh, look, the Mets are going to choke. The Mets are going to choke. Why? Those are, the Yankees historically should have never lost a 3-0 series against the Red Sox in the playoffs, right? Right? How many times did the Braves choke in that 14 division winning streak when they only won one championship, when they had one of the best rotations in baseball for 5-6 years in a row, and they couldn't get over the hump only once? As good as the Mets were in 86, everybody thinks they should have won multiple championships in those from 86 to 89 stretch. At least 2. The same thing with the Braves. 14 division titles in a row and they won once. People thought they should have won 2 or 3. So the Braves choked as well. So Brave fans will not bring that up because they won't, because they won a championship last year. But again, last year means nothing. 2007 means nothing. The one of the guys on the team that was a big part of the Braves winning was Freddie Freeman. He's not on that team. And as good as Matt Olson is, could we see him in the playoffs for the first time? How do we know he's going to perform? We knew Freddie Freeman was going to perform. And Acuna wasn't a part of that team in the when the Braves went on that run. And Acuna, to me, is not a champion because he didn't win. Albies, Swanson, Riley, Soler, well, Soler's not on the team, but Rosario, those guys are champions. So we can go, you can always finagle a scenario for any team, right? Yankees can't beat Houston. Why do you think they're going to beat them now? They can beat up Houston in the playoffs. Just because they didn't do it in 17 or the year before that and the year after that, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Because all you need to do is be 4 games better than them in a series. That's it. Or 3 games, depending on if it's the DS or the CS. That's it. It's just that simple. So for people to bring up 2007, why don't people bring up 2006 when the Mets dominated the National League and especially the East? Why can't it be like that this year? But people don't bring out 2006 because, especially people who are not Met fans, they want to bring up 2007 because just like Yankee fans bring up 27 World Championships. Same thing. It's the same thing. How many championships have the Braves won since they've been in Atlanta? 2? I mean, just as much as the Mets, and they've been around a lot longer. So, once again, it does not matter about 2007. You want to go throughout all the years that the Braves won the division and choked in the playoffs every year and won one World Championship? Fine. They were just as consistent as the Yankees were in the 90s, winning division after division after division, dominating the East every year, just like the Yankees. The Yankees won championships. The Braves didn't. They won 1. They had multiple opportunities to win more World Series. They didn't. We're one of the best rotations in baseball. Just it. That's just what happens. And once again, guys, when it comes to Beatty, I see people putting in the chat, the Mets are not bringing up Beatty and not playing the kid every day. He's either going to get sent back down to the minors when Escobar comes back. Well, technically, even if Escobar comes back, Escobar's the bench player. I'm just letting you know that now. You're not sitting Beatty. Unless there might be a lefty that's pitching against the Mets and you want to throw Escobar in there who's been good against left-handers, batting right-handed, sure, you can give Beatty a day off. But Beatty's playing every day. Now, when Luis Guillorme comes back in, I would say about the first or second week in September, depending on what Beatty's doing, he'll probably get sent back down. Yeah, Ken, I don't get it either when it comes to. I just don't understand why people bring up history like it actually means something, right? The Red Sox haven't won a World Series in 90 plus years. They win a World Series. The Cubs, 101 years, win the World Series. It's anything can happen at any moment. Just because the Astros or the Dodgers are the best team in baseball doesn't mean they look at the Dodgers for example, right? The Dodgers had the highest payroll for how many years now? Always it seemed like they always had the best record every year going into the playoffs, and the only year they could actually win is a shortened 60-game season to win a World Series. So it doesn't matter if you're the best team. All you got to do is be the hot team at the right time, the right team and the hot team at the right time. So, KTU, I don't know what they're gonna do. Vogelback is having a hamstring issue. I don't think anybody. I don't know if many of you know that, but Vogelback is dealing with a hamstring issue, and he's been playing a lot. But again, when you don't have other options, that's why I don't like a platoon at DH. And I know Ken, you'll probably kill me on this. And the reason why I wanted the guy like Trey Mancini or JD Martinez, even though the Red Sox didn't trade him, is the fact that when you bring in a big bat like Trey Mancini and JD Martinez, who can hit lefties and righties, you don't have to worry about Vogelback only pitching him against right-handers. Now that Vogelback's actually injured, Ruff should be at the DH spot every game, but he can't hit right-handers. So that's the conundrum that the Mets put themselves in when it comes to a platoon. Analytically, it looks beautiful. Oh, look at Ruff's OPS against left-handers. Look at Vogelback's OPS against right-handers. But what does that mean? That doesn't mean they're going to hit 1,000 against right-handers for Vogelback and left-handers for Ruff. These guys aren't 270 hitters. There's a reason why they're 220 hitters. All right, so with Vogelback and Ruff, the biggest problem that I always had with a platoon, and the same reason why I didn't like the platoon with Dominic Smith and JD Davis. Number one, if Vogelback's hot as hell and batting 300 and hitting 5 home runs in a 7-game stretch, and now a team pitches a lefty, you're going to sit him down to play Ruff just because analytically Ruff is better against left-handers? That's why I don't like platoons at the DH spot. I'd rather have one big bat who can crush either left-handers or right-handers. That's why it looks like a problem right now. Even though Vogelback has been good, but now that he's injured, you have to play him. You have to play him. Because you can't put Ruff against right-handers because he's garbage. Who else you got? So that's the problem. If Vogelback has an issue with his hamstring, put him on the IL. Don't mess with him. Because all you need him to do is try to beat out a ball to first base and rip his hamstring, and then you don't have him for the rest of the year. You know what? Call up Dominic Smith for a couple of games, for a week. You know what I'm saying? And, Dick, I know J.D. Davis is raking in San Francisco. Look, J.D. Davis needed to change the scenery, and the kid needed to play every day. He's playing every day in San Francisco. That's why. Again, I said it. J.D. Davis, if he played every day, is a 280 hitter, 270 hitter, and can hit 20 home runs. I said that from day one, and I always believed that. But the Mets were so gun-ho on platooning Dominic Smith and J.D. Davis, and so at points Robinson Cano, they never gave the opportunity to J.D. Davis. And I always thought J.D. Davis is a better hitter than Dominic Smith because J.D. Davis showed it in 2019 when he was healthy. Dominic Smith showed it in a shortened season, which was I don't take seriously. So, again, I'm not surprised J.D. Davis is raking. I'm not surprised at all. So, with that said, guys, I appreciate all you guys hanging in there for the hour on Mets Talk Live on this off day for the Mets. Mets got a 4-game set against Colorado at home. The Mets have Jacob deGrom pitching tomorrow. Friday is Scherzer bobblehead night with the strikeout counter, which is series 2 of 2. The first one was the DeGrom strikeout clocker on Friday. Saturday is Mets Old Timers Day. I'm still deciding if I'm going to go to the game. If I don't go to the game, I will stream the game and the Old Timers Day, which will be on SNY. So it'll be a very long day. but it'll be fun on a Saturday to watch it with you guys if I don't go to the game. The only reason why I can't go to the game, might not go to the game because of work. So, because it is going to be a night game, and Old Timers Day I think starts at 3:30 or 4 o'clock. So, with that said, guys, let's beat up on the Rockies. They are terrible. They're one of the worst teams on the road in Major League Baseball. You got to take advantage of that. At the very least, 3 or 4. It would be great if they can sweep. The Braves are facing the Cardinals the next 3 days. So let's hope the Cardinals kick their ass and get things done. With that said, guys, everybody have a good night. Stay positive, guys. Stay confident. This team is one of the best teams in baseball. The Mets' best team since '86. Don't forget, this team is very good. Every time you think they're going to get knocked down, they find a way to get right back up and prove to Met fans and Major League Baseball that they are one of the best teams in baseball. So everybody have a good night. Let's go Mets. See you next time, guys.